Hello, how you doing? I'm Craig Parkinson. You are listening to the Two Shot Podcast. Sit yourself down, pop the kettle on. We're going to have a nice old chat. Who's it with this week? I'm going to tell you right now. Hiya, how are you? So another week, another Two Shot Podcast, and this week I am delighted to say I sit down and have a right good chat with Maya Sondhi. I knew her a little bit, but my God, she is so positive, and you know, it all stems from a very, very supportive upbringing, which we touch on loads. Look, it's a great chat. Have a sit down, put the kettle on, and listen to this week's Two Shot Podcast with Maya Sondhi. It's silent now, but only a few seconds ago we were testing our mics, and myself and my guest this week were talking about embarrassing iTunes running lists.
Oh no.
Yes,
we were. I didn't know you were going to say it.
Oh, I had to. We won't talk about what it was. We'll leave that to people's imagination. This week, I am thrilled to say I am sat in a semi... Well, it's not as noisy as it was, is it, producer Griff? No, he's happy. Look, him shaking his head. He doesn't speak again. Yet again, another episode where he doesn't speak. I am sat with the lovely Maya Sondhi. How are you, Donna? You all right?
I'm all right, thank you.
Thanks so much for coming and having a chat.
Thank you for having me.
How is it all going?
It's busy. It's good. It's busy, good busy.
When you say busy, is that because 7 months ago you became a mum?
Yeah.
Or is it the fact you've got to juggle?
I've got to juggle that with, so writing, because I write as well. So writing projects are really kind of all landing at the same time.
And nappies as well.
Nappies, writing, and then auditions, and then voiceovers, and then just also trying to drink gin in between is very important. You have to keep that going. You know, you've got to keep up with your social life. So just because you have a baby doesn't mean you can't drink gin anymore. In fact, the baby likes a bit of gin breast milk. I think he sleeps much better once he's had some gin in his breast milk.
Do you know, my wife used to say when she was a little baby, her mum used to dip the dummy into Guinness. And in fact, my mum, when my little sister, there's a 10-year age gap between me and my sister. I remember one time my mum dipping the Guinness, the dummy in the Guinness.
See, and it worked for them.
I don't think you'll find that in...
That's probably not in the handbook now, is it?
Is it Dr. Spock or Mr. Spock? I always forget.
I don't know.
You know that book?
No.
Yeah, it's a big famous book.
Oh, no.
Because Mr. Spock is Star Trek.
And then...
But Dr. Spock wrote this amazing sort of Bible...
About having a baby.
About babies and raising babies.
I tried not to read too much because I thought if I'll
get
terrified. Yeah, I couldn't be asked, but also I thought I'll be terrified now because it's got to come out. And if I'm now panicking and it's in me and I'm panicking, this is not good. So we'll not think about the end. We'll think about, just enjoy being pregnant. And then when he comes, well, I didn't know. Yeah, I did know it was a he. When he comes and we'll deal with it then.
Well, let's not think about the end. Let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Of sorts. Mm-hmm. You grew up in Birmingham.
Yes.
Talk to me about your family life when you were growing up. Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, so I've got a little brother.
Yeah.
So he's 3 years younger than me. And my mum is from Kenya. She's Indian, but she came from Kenya to Birmingham when she was 6 because of the political unrest. It was quite difficult for Indians in Kenya at the time. And so my granddad brought them over. So my mum is essentially a Brummie, but, she's a Kenyan Indian Brummie. And then my dad came over from India as well when he was 15, I think, to go to school in Bedford. and then they ended up in Birmingham. They actually ended up both at uni in Birmingham, but they didn't meet at uni. They met after when they were doing all changing the world type things.
Did they know each other at uni?
No, not at all. Because my dad's a bit older than my mum, so they didn't know each other. But then they started doing all this activist stuff. Like we're going to change the world, we're going to protest for things, and my dad's going to buy his clothes in a jumble sale, and my mum's going to get arrested for fighting police officers and all this kind of stuff. So then they met after, and
where did they meet?
They met. I think what happened was my mum was speaking at some kind of like I want to say a rally, but maybe some kind of meeting. And my aunt, my dad's sister, who was living in England at the time, she's in India now, but I think she saw my mum speaking at this thing and went back to my dad and went, I think I found the woman for you. Like, she's amazing. You've got to see this woman. And my mum and dad actually were both with people when they met. So they were naughty. And they got together. And then I came along a little bit later. And we all rubbed along in this little house in Birmingham. And then my brother came along and ruined it all. But no, it's fine. It's fine. So we grew up in Birmingham. I went to like a really bog standard junior school.
Did you enjoy junior school?
I loved school. I honestly.
Did you love school full stop throughout?
I loved school until I discovered acting, and then I didn't love school anymore because I was frustrated there.
Frustrated because
I just wanted to be doing that then.
Right.
And before that, I had no interest. When people were saying, "Oh, I've wanted to do it ever since I was 3 or 4 or went to stage school," not at all. I loved being at primary school, and then I went to secondary school, and I went to it was a school where you have to take an exam, but it wasn't just for people who could afford it. It was, you got help if you couldn't afford it, but it was it was a private school, but they didn't exclude people who weren't able for financially. So you'd get all sorts of grants, assisted places, and scholarships and things. Oh, he's there. He's there. And then, so that was a very different world to the world that I'd just come from, which is a really local, normal primary school. Suddenly with all these girls, and it was an all girls school, where it's it's like an exam factory. It was but it was amazing as well, because I could study Latin, and I could learn the saxophone, and they had all these hockey pitches and a swimming pool and all this. It was just it was mind blowing.
Were you quite sporty or?
Not at all. Not at all. When I was at school, it was it's almost like you had to pick. You're either this or you're that. So you're either a sporty person, you're an arty person, and it's
or you're an academic.
You're not allowed to be, and you're not allowed to be more than one. So I was right, well, I don't quite fit into the clever people. I don't quite fit into the sporty people. I found the arts, so then I was one of the few people in the arts bit, and then just did a play on this, did a drama outside of school, at the Midlands Arts Centre at the Mac,
right,
and then also just then did Maria in West Side Story at school.
And what age was this?
So this was around this was about, so I did Maria at about 17, but 16 I auditioned for National Youth Theatre and went there. And that was because the 3-week training course at National Youth Theatre was kind of the first 3 weeks at drama school. And it was amazing. And I loved every second of it. And then it does need a bit of WD-40, that door, I think.
Don't worry. Producer Griff is so good at editing the coughs and breaths and splutters and the sounds. He'll definitely store a squeaky door out, no problem. Can I just go back to before all this? What was available at your school
in
terms of your passion for acting and for drama and for the release?
That's the thing. So they didn't have drama as a GCSE.
But did they have it at primary or junior school?
Oh, you know what? No. They did. I can't remember doing it. I can't remember discovering it at school. I discovered it outside of school. Kind of Midlands Arts Centre, and going to and then National Youth Theatre, and that opened up such a different world to me. And
with the Midlands Arts Centre, was that something that everybody was freely accepted into, or was there an audition process, or
was
it free, or was it something you had to pay for?
No, it was free. I got into this wonderful production where you had to audition for it, but it was specifically targeted at community. So, you didn't have to have any experience or anything. They were just looking for people who just had a bit of something, and they were willing to work on you, and sort of, so they mixed in like more professional types with community people, and so you could all sort of learn together, and that was wonderful. That was just brilliant, because again, I never really liked being with people the same age as me at school. And at school, you're always with people the same age. As soon as you do drama, it's like...
Well, you wanted to be with people that
I wanted to be with people older. I did. And
I was like that.
Yeah. Because I like to be tested, and I like to learn and watch people. And you can learn, obviously, and especially now you can learn from younger people all the time. But I think at that age, you want someone to look up to, you want people to follow, because you don't know who you are and you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
So you kind of go, oh, what are they doing? That's interesting. I remember getting obsessed with this girl in one of the shows that I did on the side, where she was like 17, and she seemed so old to me, but I must have been about 12, 13. And she could do a no-handed cartwheel. Get your head around that.
Do you know what? Even now at 41, if I see someone do that, that's fucking impressive.
It's amazing. And I remember her, she was called Vicky. She could do a no-handed cartwheel, and I was just like, she's amazing. And then I had all these lovely role models who were older and all from different backgrounds and, different classes, different talents, dancers, singers, actors, drummers, all sorts of things. So I think, and then I got frustrated at senior school because it was so academic, and I just didn't like. I could go with the academia fine because I did like to work. I like to work hard, but I just felt like there's something else now that's.
Did you not have drama as a GCSE?
No.
Or
there was no drama
extracurricular?
GCSE. You could do drama, like you could opt for it in one of the things, but it was so rubbish, and it was just so half-hearted, and you couldn't really like get your teeth into it. So then I could get my teeth into when we did the show, which was West Side Story. I could really get my teeth into that. And they really went to town on it, and they kind of made it into a big show, and they did loads of performances. And then I just thought I've got to try for drama school, because you know what, everyone kept saying to me at 18 straight from school, they won't have you.
Yeah.
You should go to university. You should go to Cambridge. You should go to Cambridge and get a degree. And I'm like, okay, right, yeah, well, I'll apply for Cambridge, but I'll also apply for drama school and see what happens. And they'll decide, because if they think I'm ready at 18, I'll go, because they'll take me. And if they don't, fair enough, and then I'll do something else. But I'm going to let them decide, because I want to go. And then, so then I went to Lambda. And
what was the support like from your parents?
My parents were incredible. My parents are really liberal anyway, and they're passionate about. They've always been passionate about like nurturing whatever you feel you are, whatever you want, like
and supporting that.
Yeah, even to like, and sexuality wise, I'm straight, but when I was like about 13, 14, I remember I hadn't shown any interest in any boys at school or anything like that. I hadn't brought anyone home and whatever. And they sat me down at the kitchen table and they were like, just so you know, whatever you choose to be in life, whoever you fall in love with, it's absolutely fine. We accept everyone into this house. I'm like, do you think I'm gay just because I haven't got any boys home? Oh my God, have you seen the boys in the boys' school? They're disgusting. And then my first boyfriend ended up being, he was amazing West Indian cellist, and he was gay. So that was the first person that I brought home. So yeah.
So they fully supported.
They totally did.
You in every aspect.
Yeah, they weren't nervous. Obviously, as a parent, you're nervous about. You don't want your child to be rejected. I think that's the biggest thing. You don't want your child to just be rejected and depressed, and you don't want them to struggle financially. You don't want them to have a hard life, but then you also don't want to tread on their dreams, kind of thing.
No, of course.
So they were like. They found it hard, I know, at times when, because it's, since I found writing, I'm totally happy. But I did suffer from depression at times when I was just waiting for acting work, and I had to do lots of side jobs, and I was getting really frustrated just waiting. And I think they saw that and they felt really powerless. And you know, I think as a parent, you just, because now I feel it. Now I've got a baby, and even when he's got a cold and I can't make it better, I feel like really crappy. But I think that was their concern, was like, we don't want you to be sad, basically, you know, we just want you to enjoy everything you're doing. And so like now they're just completely content because I've got so many things on. But they would never ever ever have said to me, you can't do that,
or stand in your way, or go,
no,
look, we think you should do this first, then do that later, if you still feel that you've still got it in you. So they were fully supportive. How amazing is that they were like that?
Even like my dad was on a board at some point with Sir Richard Eyre, and he said to him, could you speak to my daughter and tell her that she should go to Cambridge or uni and then go to drama school after? So I had tea with Richard Eyre, like in this hotel somewhere, and after about 20 minutes talking to me, he turned to my dad and he went, this girl's not going to uni. She's going to go to drama school.
What a brilliant man.
And he was great. But like, yeah, I think that's it was a genuine concern for, you know, I want you to be okay.
Yeah, of course.
And it wasn't, because they're so not, like, they're in touch with tradition, but they're not the kind of, you know, because I used to get asked that question a lot. Oh my God, you're an actress. Were your parents all right with that? But I'm like, but you don't know my parents, so how would you know? Because, you know, they're the most liberal people you could meet, you know. So
do you think they asked that because you're Indian?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think people ask that now, because it's the pool is much wider of in like Asian actors. Yeah, and then we're much more visible now on telly and. But
obviously, growing up, when you were growing up, you weren't popping on the telly and seeing a lot of Indian actors or actresses.
No, I mean, goodness gracious me, it was groundbreaking.
Right.
Us, because that was like, oh my God, we recognise these people. We recognise this is funny for us because we know these people, kind of thing. But actually that, you know, and the real McCoy, because even though, like, I loved the real McCoy, even though it wasn't, you know, Indian culture, it was, you could, there's so many crossovers.
Yeah.
So they were like, you know, and we had like Desmonds and things. But
I loved Desmonds.
I got really starstruck because I met Pork Pie.
You did not?
Yeah, because his daughter, I think, went to National Youth Theatre around, I think it was around the same time as me, or maybe later. But I remember he turned up one day, I was like, it's Pork Pie! It's Pork Pie! I couldn't speak to him, I was just too excited.
For those listening who don't know what myself and Maya
under the age of 30,
yeah,
maybe?
Desmonds used to be quite a groundbreaking sitcom on Channel 4 about an African barber.
He was a barber.
It was a barber. Was it in Peckham, wasn't it?
I think so. Somewhere.
I think
London.
It was somewhere South London. Anyway, Google it. Desmonds, an amazing theme tune, and a great show.
It was good.
Yeah, it was good. Let me just go back to after East Midlands Art Centre. I think he said Art Centre. That sounded like I said Art
Not
Centre.
East Midlands.
Midlands. I'm getting confused.
Vicky.
That's Vicky. We've done her. So, with the National Youth Theatre, was that an audition process?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
So that was, now this is going back, but I think I had to do 2 monologues. I think it might have been 2 or 1, I can't remember now. But, so you did 1 and then you did a recall. Was that
the first time you'd actively auditioned for anything?
The first time I'd auditioned. And
how did you feel about that?
Do you know, I did it because I wanted to experience it, and I genuinely did it not to get into National Youth Theatre. I did it because I didn't know what an audition was, and I wanted to know because I'd done, you know, the things on the side of school they were like auditions, but they weren't like formal ones on your own. They were like, you know, group ones.
Did you feel at that point you weren't being tested enough?
I just think I love fear. I love trying things that I've never done before. And I thought, well, I have no idea how this works. I could completely mess it up. But also to work on a monologue is a bit of an odd thing, you know, without other people. So then I just remember just like practicing it loads and loads with my friend, bless her, my lovely friend Catherine, who would just sit with me for hours in a corner while I just did it over and over and over and over again to her. And then I think there was an amazing woman called Liz Light, who runs a youth theatre in Birmingham, and I think she might have helped me with that, or did she help me later?
That's
on
the second time that Liz Light has been mentioned.
She's incredible
on this podcast series
She's
so
incredible.
far, and she is the sister
of John Light.
John Light, who by this point we won't have recorded, but is coming on to do an episode of the podcast. Yeah.
Now I can't remember if she helped me with that one, or but I definitely think I know that she helped me with a monologue which got me into Lambda.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what age were you auditioning for the National Youth Theatre? 16?
National Youth Theatre, yeah. So I went at 16, and I had a lot of firsts at the National Youth Theatre. My eyes were really open because you really grow up then. You stay in a university halls of residence for 3 weeks. You're with people who are like different ages, so you know, your age and older, and you know you develop these friendships like in these 3 weeks, right? And it's so intense and amazing, and totally different to anything that I'd ever done before, because it's completely not about like academia or anything. It's just going with it and just being sort of.
And you're doing what you want to do.
Yeah, and just it was some of the most fun that I've had. You know, in my childhood, and I think that just made me go, wow, if drama school's like this every day for 3 years, I want to go to drama school. Because
And did you find that
drama school was really similar at the beginning to National Youth Theatre?
Yeah,
definitely at the beginning.
at the beginning?
Because did you go? Did you?
Yeah.
Where did you go?
I went to Mountview.
Oh yeah, so
Yeah.
I auditioned for Mountview and I got in there.
Did you?
But then I went to Lambda, But yeah, the first sort of year, I reckon would be like what National Youth Theatre, the course is like.
Yeah.
And just exploring and trying lots of different things. And then it becomes about the industry a bit later on, doesn't it? So.
Well, in a way, yeah, it does. And I think it doesn't at the same time. I was talking to somebody the other day about, I was trying to think about, it's 20 years this year since I graduated in 97. You were 2000 and...
God, so I left when I was 21 and I'm 34 now. Can you do the maths?
No, I just want to say this isn't a maths podcast. I have not got a maths head on me. But a few things that were reaching out to me when I was thinking back of my time were certain guest directors and guest actors and people who came in to do talks and lessons and direct plays who were working current in the industry today, which was a slight basis of why I wanted to start this podcast in the first place, even though I didn't want it to be specifically for people who were training or drama students or anything like that. I wanted to be more open than that. Yeah. Anyway, I've gone right off road. Lambda, the first year you thought it was very much like National Youth Theatre, so it was much freer.
Yeah. And you know, you have some of my best friends now are the friends from that year at Lambda, and you know there's like a core group of us that are still just total support network for each other, and that's amazing. They see you at your best, your worst, your in between, everything. They see you on your arse, just absolutely not wanting to do it anymore. I think everyone had a breakdown at some point. We just made sure we didn't do it all at the same time, and then so it for me, going at 18 was absolutely the right decision for me personally.
Yeah.
There's other people that went after uni. There was people that went sort of instead of uni. You know, there's people that went much later. There was a guy there, one of my really good friends, who'd got 2 degrees and then was at Lambda at the 3-year course. And it was so lovely to have like some of your best friends being 10 years older than you.
Yeah.
You know, it was really great. And
I remember thinking that because I went at just nearly 18.
Yeah.
So just on the cusp of 18 and thinking, am I too young for this?
But your eyes are open. You're sort of like a sponge then, aren't you?
Yeah.
Whereas, so we all learnt off each other. The sort of the university types were a bit like, a bit cerebral about things. And the younger ones would just like jump into it. If it was kind of like things that didn't make sense, we'd just go for it. And I think they learnt from us, but then they sort of taught us to be a bit more measured as well and not just kind of bounce off the walls all the time. And they kind of grew us up, really. But then, to be honest, most of the really useful stuff that I'd say that movement, particularly clown at drama school with this amazing teacher called Mark Bell, who did like lots of different like movement things with us, like clown, bouffon, all these mask and all this stuff. That was really amazing. But most of the most useful stuff that I know, I've learned in the business. I've learned from the jobs that I've done, because we just didn't have telly training at drama school.
Well, there doesn't seem to be, I don't know what it's like now, but there doesn't seem to be that much time for it anymore.
Well, we didn't have it. We had a few like...
Did you have like a few hours?
A few hours of crappy little... It just didn't really do anything at all.
Did you enjoy the full 3-year period, or was there any reality checks? As in, were you told, look, this is going to be a bumpy road for you, personally? Was there any home truths slapped in your face so early?
I mean... It does kind of, you do go on a journey of self-discovery, don't you? And people are quite honest with you. I don't feel like, I can't remember any of it being horrendous. At the end with the shows, what I do think is sometimes you got teachers' pets, and they're like the ones that are kind of, they're going to be amazing, they're going to be huge, they're going to have all the agents after them, and they are the stars. And then there's everyone else, and I think that's not healthy, because everyone's going to find their way in whatever way they do and whatever path they end up on. I don't think you should ever like push some people up, kind of put them on a pedestal. But I don't think, I mean, our year was fairly even, and I remember thinking the horrible bit was when we started doing the showcases, and obviously then agents come in and casting directors, and certain people are getting interest and some people are getting none. And like, I think, I don't know, every year probably says this, but I think we came out a year when it was really dry. Like, people were really reluctant to take more clients on. But then maybe lots of people say this, I don't know. And I think then it starts to divide you. So you've been such a tight company and friendship group. And then when someone's got 6 agents after them and somebody else has got none, and they're like playing off each other in a show, I think that sometimes it doesn't quite equip you for that. I do think, though, what they do need at drama school is more pastoral care, because we did a lot of our pastoral care because we were really close with our teachers and with each other. But I think you do sort of need to give people reality checks and check with their sort of mental health as well, because a lot of people going there are a bit lost and are young, and also they do need to know that, for example, when you get out there, you're not just going to maybe walk into Game of Thrones. You might have to get a few side jobs, and you've got to be prepared. How are you going to manage your time? How are you going to manage your money? How are you going to keep up and keep wanting to do it and not become kind of like really jaded at the age of 21 or whatever? But I think mainly just practically, how are you going to enjoy your life and not just make it all about waiting for acting work?
Yeah.
Which I do think you need to have more of those chats at drama school.
Yeah.
You know, just the realities of living, and just kind of like, you just, because I think so many people just expected to walk into work, and then obviously it didn't happen. And that's quite hard going when you've kind of been ensconced in this world for 3 years, and you just think everything is living, breathing, acting, theatre, acting, everything. And then suddenly you're out in the real world and you're like, oh crap, I'm going to have to work in this bar for quite a long time.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So.
And would you say that in retrospect, on a whole, your whole 3 years were a happy time?
Yeah. Like generally, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, and I don't regret, even in the dark times when I've been like, why am I doing this? I should have done something else. This was a mistake.
You're
even in my
reflecting
darkest...
on those, yeah.
Even those, and that, you know, actually that's usually when a big job or audition comes up. But it's like someone's telling you, no, don't give up just yet. But even in those times, I will never, ever think that Lambda was a bad idea because... And also, I've got the bestest friends from it as well, you know.
Yeah. And are your parents still supportive now, all those years since graduating?
Yeah, they're so proud now. In fact, when I'd written my when my first episode of EastEnders aired, like that I'd written, I've never seen my mum ran up to the screen, written by Maya Sondhi, screenshot, like just loads of pictures. I've never seen her so excited about an acting job, but like they're really sort of proud and kind of. I'm sure that they bore their friends about it, and I would hate to see their friends and be like, I'm so sorry if they're talking about us all the time. But
that's because they're proud, and how amazing that they've been supportive,
and they really
all the way
have.
through your life, all the way through your career so far.
Yeah, I mean, I've bawled my eyes out to them. I've like turned up unannounced, just in my little car from down the motorway from London back to Birmingham, going, I can't cope anymore. You know, and they're just always brilliant. They're just such a kind of a unit of support.
They sound like really lovely people.
You can borrow them if you want.
I might need them at some point. I think all of us might need your parents at some point. So after you graduated, was your first job something that sort of immediately hit, or did you feel quite jaded at a time where other people starting to get jobs? Did you feel left behind, or where were you?
I think I had 3 jobs. I think I was working in a couple of bars and a shop, and I think I was just kind of, for a while, I was just getting used to the real world again.
Right, so the acting work
it didn't happen straight away. No, not straight away. Had some nice meetings, and then I did do quite early on. I did Family Affairs, and I did like guest cast in that, which is brilliant learning because it's multi-camera. So straight away you're having to be really technical,
right? And
everyone was so friendly.
So you're already learning on the job,
yeah.
more something different than what you were being trained for 3 years.
Exactly. And there was sort of guest in that, and then I sort of thought, oh, okay, this telly stuff. I like this telly stuff. We could go with this a bit more. And then I think because of my ethnicity, I was getting more telly meetings than theatre, which was frustrating me a bit because obviously I was keen to do theatre because we'd done so much for 3 years. But then I sort of...
Did you ever speak to anybody about that?
No, I think casting has changed so much over the years because I think now people are much more colourblind. I think we've still got a long way to go. But I get seen for stuff now, which I'd never be seen for sort of 10 years ago, that because it doesn't matter what the ethnicity is.
Yeah.
And people are much more open-minded about things. And but I actually grew to love once I got used to sort of the telly castings, I really enjoyed them.
But you must have been frustrated at times.
Yeah, it was frustrating because you just think, oh, I've spent all this energy on this now, and I want to use it. I want to use my, or everything I've learned. I want to like show it. I want to do it.
And you want to carry on learning.
Yeah, and that's another thing. You really, I mean, every actor that I work with, even now, it's like, oh God, they do that. That's so interesting. I've never thought about that. And it's so interesting watching different people work.
Yeah,
it's amazing. And yourself included, obviously. But it's because people have such different ways. And I don't think there's any one way into this business. I think, people can be so snobby. I have been around people who've been so snobby about, oh, well, they didn't train. I'm like, so? Really, different people have different paths in life.
Of course,
Some people don't. Some people do a workshop and then boom, straight in. Some people train because that's what they need to do and then go after. Some people go to uni and then go after. Some people come off the street and it doesn't matter. I think you've got to be able to work with and everyone can learn from each other's styles anyway. And I just don't think there should ever be one way. If we regulate it and say, you have to do this and this and this to be an actor, then it ceases to be the beauty of what it is, doesn't it? It's so like a free, beautiful kind of business. When when it's not stressful. It's a beautiful industry.
Yeah.
Because it's full of interesting people.
And it's full of massive highs and extreme lows.
Yeah, totally.
How do you deal with extreme lows? Because if it hasn't all been plain sailing, I want to get to a certain point where we talk about how you got into the writing.
Yeah.
But there must have been times where you did feel frustrated.
So frustrated. No, I actually got depression because I got diagnosed with it because I got to the point where I was doing side jobs and it wasn't fulfilling enough. And when I'm not busy, I get really low. You know what that saying, isn't it? The devil makes work for idle hands. But for me, it's if I'm bored, it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
It's just I can't be doing it.
And you're probably not a good company to be around. And I'm only saying that because we can smell our own. I'm exactly the same.
Yeah. And I retreat into I would not want to see people because I'd think I'd bring them down. I just wanted to be fun with people. So I didn't want, then I'd end up coming across as really flaky because I'd cancel on people. Didn't want to do big social things because you're so low and you don't want to talk. And also you feel a bit naff saying, oh, I'm just really low because I'm not working. Because people who are not in the business don't really get that.
Yeah.
It's like they're in the real world, you know. But then I sort of worked out how to manage that and kind of throw myself into the side job. So I started teaching English as a foreign language because I trained to do it, 4-week training course, and then did that. And I loved it because you get really interesting, funny students every day, and they look to you because they're looking to you for something that you can give them. So suddenly you've got a purpose again.
Yeah. And
it's great. And it's just hilarious. Like, it's really funny. And just watching the ways that students would interact with each other with very little English, with more English, from all different places in the world. I remember one amazing class where I had the advanced set, and I had a 17-year-old boy from like Croatia or somewhere, and I had a 70-year-old woman from somewhere else, and they're in this class of only like 4 or 5 students together, and we were like looking at Shakespeare and stuff. And I was just like, this is brilliant. When would these two people ever be together in a classroom learning? I get to watch them. I get to teach them, this 17-year-old little boy and this 70-year-old woman.
And that's a great buzz.
I was just brilliant.
Yeah. Because
it's all like, you know, what we do is people watch, don't we? Because we reflect life. So we need to know different people's what makes different people tick, what they do, what their sensibilities are. And just watching people from all over the world and come together and interact. It's just brilliant. And I did it in the middle of Soho as well, which is even more brilliant.
Wow. So how did the writing... Was that something that's always been bubbling inside you, do you think? Or...
Well, my mum nagged me for years. She was like, I really think you should write some stuff down. I think you should write. And I wasn't ready. I didn't feel like I had enough stories to tell. And then I got to a point where I was like, you know what? There's all these other people's stories to tell that I'd love to see. And like, I'm having to wait to see them. And sometimes they never come. So I should just write them, right? Because I've met amazing people in my life. I've watched amazing people on the bus. I've seen things. I've heard things. And I thought, but I didn't know how to start writing it down. I had no idea because I didn't have the training. I didn't have, you just don't know. And so I think I did a panto that was written by Hardeep Singh Kohli. And in one, because my job was the kind of like the narrator buttons type character. And at one bit, the director just sort of let me do my own thing. So I kind of knew every performance. I had almost like a stand-up routine.
Right.
For a bit. And then I went back onto script. And for that, I got such a buzz every night. Because I didn't really plan it. I just sort of stood behind the curtain and just thought, right, we'll see. And like playing with the audience things. And after Hardeep sort of said to me, I think you should write some stuff because there's clearly stuff in there and you need to get it out. So just write it, just do something. So I sort of started to create these characters that were based on people that I knew, met, watched, whatever, invented, and then sort of put it into a kind of a care home situation and just sort of wrote a little sitcom and a little pitch. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I just wrote it, and I just also had like all these other pages and pages of material, which was just random things that I'd heard or thought of.
Did you feel that was a
my
release,
God.
a great release?
It was amazing. It was like having a really good poo. It was just like, whew, all just coming out. And then I just showed it to a producer that I was working with as an actress at the time. I said, this might be really stupid, Paul, but could you just have a look at this little one-page thing that I've written about this thing, about this care home? And he read it. He said, can I read the script? And I was like, okay. I'm a bit scared about anyone seeing anything because this might be total crap and it's going to laugh at me. But I was like, no, it's fine. I'm going to do it. I like to be scared.
Yeah.
And he read it and he's like, you know what? I think I should introduce you to some writing agents, because it was at Hattrick, here at Hattrick, because I think you will work really well together. And from that, and then I sort of met them, and they encouraged me to write some more stuff, because I was really passionate about working with teenagers. At the time I was doing some work with teenagers about like sexting and porn and sort of sexual images in the media and all that sort of thing. And with my friend who ran a charity, we did alternative sex education kind of thing. And I'd heard all these stories from these kids, and I was talking to them about it for about 2 hours, and they said, you should write that. So then I wrote a play about that. And then that was kind of my calling card script.
Where was the play produced?
Yeah, it was on last year at the Park Theatre in the Park 90, called Sket. And yeah, it was incredible to sort of have that, because the response from people was, oh my God, this is a problem. We need to talk to our kids about it. That's what I wanted. I didn't want anyone to... I didn't really care if anyone said, oh, the structure of this play is a bit this, a bit that, the writing, blah, blah. I didn't really care. I just thought, I want people to go and talk about this, because this is important, because it's ruining kids' lives. And I got that response from it, so I was really chuffed about that. And now it's just sort of my calling card to get in the room for other stuff. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was... But since I found that, I feel like I always have an outlet.
So obviously you are still acting, but
Yeah.
do you feel that the writing has overtaken not even just the acting, but maybe the passion for acting?
Yeah, it's a weird one, because when you're sitting there as a writer in a writer's room, and you're discussing the actors, it's a hard one for me, because I feel quite bound to actors, and like, you know, if you're sitting there and you're discussing an actor's future in this show, and I'm thinking, God, they've got a family, they've got this, they've just had a baby, or this, you know, I'm like, oh my God, no. It's hard. That's why I kind of like to keep them separate, because I don't want to be, I'd hate to write something that I was in as an actor, and then obviously I know things about the show and discussions that have happened that then the actors don't know, and then I feel like I would feel like a bit of a traitor, you know. So I've not had to tread that line yet, whereas because I've only written stuff or been in stuff, but not together. But it's lovely. They do go hand in hand though, because you're still in the business. So even when I'm not going to auditions, I still know the projects that are going on, because I know what's going on in the business. I know what shows are in development. I know who's doing what. I've met so and so who's working on this, who's script editing this, whatever. So I'm in it. And then, you know, as a writer, as an actor, when you go for things, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember when I heard about this in development. It's kind of nice. They go together. But at the moment, quite separate. But yeah, sorry, your original question, which I didn't even answer. It is overtaking it, only because I get to tell my own stories now. I don't have to wait for somebody else to tell stories.
So you've got more sense of control.
Yeah. And
which
actually,
is something that keeps coming back in these podcasts about people taking that control and moulding it into their sense of what they want to do and put it out there at their time. Yeah.
Just the difference between, so if I go to a writing meeting because somebody has read my script, liked my work, want to speak to my agent and want me in the room to say, what are you up to at the moment? What kind of things do you want to write? This is what we're looking for writers to pitch. So I'll go into a meeting and there's a real forward energy. What can you bring us? What show could we create together that then creates loads of work for loads of other people and tells loads of interesting stories? There's that kind of energy. Whereas I feel when I go into a casting, everything's been set. You're the last bit. So like you just go in and it's kind of like right, let's just look at you. Would you fit with the husband? And you know, most of the time you're there because they know what you can do. They just need to fit you to the show.
Yeah.
It's not even about doing well or not. Almost it's kind of like, well, yeah, we like you, but can we make this work? Do you look 34? Could you have just had that baby? I mean, you know, it's that kind of thing rather than, you know, what can we create together? I feel sort of as an actor cheated because you're only brought in at the end, whereas as a writer, you're there from the first seed. And it's just so exciting to be there from the beginning.
Do you feel since becoming a mother, because the passion has kind of turned left a bit into the writing side of it, are you able to juggle being a mum and a writer easier than being a mother and an actor?
I mean, at the moment, that not really, because I still need to write, and it's hard to write with the baby there. But
I know, but with writing, you're writing on your time, on your terms.
Difference, yeah, and that's the difference. So we can go right. So, and I can speak to my writing agent, and we can negotiate. Is it okay to deliver this by this, or she can do this, but she's got this other project to do first, or you know, like we've had to push back a project with someone and saying, you know, she'd love to do this. She's really busy. Can we push it to the end of this year? And you know, but we'll keep talking about it until then. That you can't do that with acting because there's, you know, production, it needs to be shot.
There's a lot of other people to consider.
Yeah, you're right. You can't do that. And also I can write at 3:00 in the morning if I can't sleep, and you know, I can do it. I can pick it up and do it whenever I want. I can do it on a train. I can do it in a cafe. Whereas you can't like do that with acting because you do the scenes when you do the scenes when they're scheduled with the other people, that kind of thing. So, and you have to be there. So yeah, but
do you ever think, because there is even talking to you now, there is such a great passion for the writing, but the great passion that started when you were a kid was about the performing and the acting.
Yeah.
Do you ever think that you will put acting to one side and 100% focus on the writing?
I don't know, because I still love it. Like when I do a job that I love, like for example, Line of Duty,
Good show.
Like, yeah, funnily enough, apart from the people on it, they're terrible.
Some people, terrible.
But you know, when you just love every moment of a job. So that job made me remember why I love acting so much, because everybody in that show was brilliant. My experience on that show was amazing. And the crew were incredible, everyone. And it just makes you go, you know what, I'd hate to miss out on this.
So you get the buzz back.
I get the buzz back.
Yeah.
I do, I get
it back. Is it a different buzz when you deliver an idea or a script that people sort of bounce off and go, we like this? Yeah,
that's another kind of buzz. But then you also know it could take I'm developing lots of things at the same time, and they might all go, or none of them might go. So you have to be realistic. You're like, yeah, it's great, it's exciting, they like it now, but it might not be made, if at all, but it might be made like in 4 years. So it's like you have to suspend your kind of like excitement for a bit, because you kind of go, right, yeah, I need to do the work first and then we'll see what happens. And then there's a million other decisions that have to be made along the way. Whereas the acting is like an instant buzz, isn't it? Because you're just there going like, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
And the writing is like, yeah, let's not get too excited until we see the proof in the pudding, you know, kind of. That's why I love writing on other people's shows like Pleasant and Eastenders, because they already exist. So you know that you're going to get your show, your episode's going to be on because you've been commissioned to write it. Or like if you're commissioned, you know, you get a script commission, you've been commissioned to write that script. So you're definitely going to be able to write a script. Whereas when you're sort of, the most fun bit about writing when I started was writing the scripts. And now you get so bogged down with, I need to write the treatment, the pitch. I need to sell the show before I even know what the show is. Whereas I discover the show through writing it, but that's very time consuming. And
doesn't pay.
And so it's hard, kind of like almost selling something. It's like selling an empty bottle of water. You've got the bottle, you just like, there's nothing in it, but you sort of know what it is. You've got like the outline of it.
Yeah.
But until you open the tap and like start filling the water up, you won't know, like, you know, you don't know what it is. So yeah, or gin.
We've gone full circle. We've gone back to gin.
Yeah, we've gone back to gin. But yeah, I think if you said to me, I will answer your question. If you said to me, you could never act again, I'd be really, really sad. But if you said to me, you can never write again, I'd be devastated. I think I'd be heartbroken. So I think at the minute...
I think you've just answered your own question, though.
Yeah, I finally answered one question, didn't I?
Yeah.
But if any casting directors are listening, please don't take that.
They won't listen to this. Oh, they might do.
Yeah, don't listen to it.
Maya Sondhi, amazing. Thank you so much for coming into chatting. It's been brilliant. How brilliant was that? I mean, just a lovely, grounded woman. I mean, she's just great. I'm kind of buzzing for her. What else have I got to tell you? Oh, yeah, you know. Here he goes again, saying subscribe, saying rate, put 5 stars on, you know what I'm talking about. Hit subscribe for the Two Shot Podcast. Follow us on Twitter. Tell your friends to follow us. It's all good. At Two Shot Pod on Twitter, on Instagram, the Two Shot Podcast on Facebook. You can always follow me on at cparks1976. Drop us a line. What's the email? The email is
twoshoppod@gmail.com.
Oh my God, producer Griff speaks. Can you believe it? twoshoppod@gmail.com. Drop us a line. Let us know what you're thinking. Maybe you've got an idea of a guest that you'd like to have on. That's fine. Look, we'll read it. I'm not sure I can do anything about it, but I'll certainly read it. Also, I would like to thank splicingblock.com. Go to allthews.splicingblock.com. Check those guys out, okay? And I will see you next week. This has been the Two Shot Podcast. I've been Craig Parkinson. Thank you so much. And remember, subscribe. The Two Shot Podcast is presented by me, Craig Parkinson, recorded and produced by Thomas Griffin for Splicing Block. Our brilliant music is courtesy of Then Thickens. Cheers.